Giles, we haven't worked together for very long. You may not know about me that I have an oceanic thirst for beer. So I'm very concerned about the economic health of Britain's pubs. We had results today from one of the largest pub operators, Enterprise. Are the pubs going to be okay?
There aren't enough people like you. That's one of the big problems. Beer production and consumption in this country peaked about 9-10 years ago. We had 1 year up since the last year, but otherwise it's been remorselessly falling as we failed to attract enough thirsty Americans to these shores. So it's a bad business to be in if you think the basic product that funds it, warm beer, has been going down in...
But you can buy things like food at pubs, surely?
Well, sure you can. Yeah, you can. And a lot of them have been trying to. But there's also been other societal changes. Men have become increasingly, frustratingly domestic in their habits. The internet, better television, better social habits, in fact. People stay at home and tuck their kids in at night rather than stay out drinking all night.
It's a scandal.
Yeah, it's shocking, and we don't endorse this, but these are the facts. Right?
Now, how is Enterprise as a company addressing this strategically, or for that matter, how's the industry handling this?
Well, like every pub operator, it has been reducing the number of pubs it owns. I mean, we're talking about there being something like 73,000 or so 15, 20 years ago in this country. There's still a daunting number like 53,000 pubs, but gradually they're being reduced. About 27 per week, pubs closing. So has Enterprise Inn's been doing so too. But it operates on a particular model called the Tide pub model, where they charge less rent than you would on the market, but you insist that the publican buys your beer.
Probably at a rich price.
Yeah, at a rich price. So they've got their buying power upstream, which means they can make a fat margin on that. They call it the wet rent. And this way they take some of the risk away from the publican, but they insist on a bit of control for them. They say it's great. They now have more certainty about their beer sales, and the landlord has a lower rent bill.
But it was just a year ago that the government changed the rules for the Tide model. How has that gone over?
I mean, MPs get incredibly misty-eyed about the small publican being sat on by the big pubco and being told what to do. So they actually defied the government. The government had a different model where they'd have regulated this relationship a bit harder. The MPs rose in revolt and said the beer tie must end. And this threw Enterprise in particular into, I wouldn't call it disarray, but their share price fell 10% on that vote, which you don't often see.
So what are they going to do? How do they meet this challenge?
Well, they've got several prongs to this. One, they're going to have to obey the law and allow these guys, every time there's a rent review, to discuss having the free of tie option, in which case they virtually become a landlord. Right. So 200 this year and then 600
and why
every year
isn't that a
afterwards.
better business to be in? They just become a landlord.
In this country, where property is so incredibly expensive and restricted, maybe they just become a decent landlord. They also want to manage more pubs directly themselves. So if they can't sort of be telling them via the beer tie, they're hoping over the long term to end up managing.
They become owner managers,
and then they can start selling more non-alcoholic drinks, coffee, crisps, and all this other weird stuff that apparently people go for nowadays. So their long-term plan is to knuckle down, do what the government says, but this might mean looking just less like a pub and more like a coffee house, which is, let's face it, where the money is.
Thanks, Giles.
Thank you.